Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. In case you have been under a rock, the world around us is in ruins. A nihilistic worldview permeates the film industry. Sodomites control the cultural narrative. Corporations run by sexual perverts and money launderers are constantly pumping out garbage content in order to entertain us. We here at the Powell Bros are over it. We want to give honest reviews of movies that expose the wicked and glorify the good. We want to find stories that have masculine male characters who slay dragons, and feminine female characters who need saving. We want stories and want to see creators who have an artistic prowess that shames and defeats our enemies. We are tired of the nihilistic moral ambiguity of modern-day entertainment. And we want stories that change people, that inspire people towards goodness, truth, and beauty. And most importantly, we want the entire entertainment industry to bow the knee to Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. Yes, we are Christians, and we are unashamed of that. And if that bothers you, too bad. Now, if you do wish to support us in our mission, please head over to patreon.com/the Powell Bros, or follow the link in the show notes. There you will gain access to our exclusive show, the Powell Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews. Now, on with the show. Here on Movie Reviews, we have tackled many movies that tell stories about great leaders who are men of courage and strength, men who lead others towards greatness. Now, do we have that with Gladiator? One of the most highly esteemed movies of all time, following a man who loses everything and is driven by revenge to rise out of the depths of despair in order to dethrone a tyrant and rescue his people. Now, does our hero Maximus display such courageous leadership that is worth emulating? Is this a story that can inspire others to be courageous and brave in the midst of hardship? Well, stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We're here another week. We are making our way through season 2, watching our favorite films from our childhood, from just in our adulthood, just movies that we love. And I am one of your hosts, Trent Powell, and I'm joined by my other host, Tobiah Powell. Tobiah, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yep.
Good.
This is another one of your movies, so yeah,
the one that you've
excited to go through it. Yeah, I've never seen it. It's my first time seeing it when I reviewed it.
Yes.
And
right. Apparently I like movies set in that came out in the 2000s because The Patriot also came out the year 2000. Yeah. This one as well. Yeah. So, and the movie we are watching is Pirates of the Caribbean. Gladiator. You got that?
I don't get it. Why?
Oh, well, so Hans Zimmer did the score for this film. And I don't know if you noticed, but he uses pretty much the same, he repurposes most of the score for Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's interesting.
There's like a couple times. I'm surprised you didn't notice. I caught it right away. There's a couple times in the movie where the score is sounds exactly like the theme of Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's funny. No, I did not notice.
But Hans Zimmer, which, this movie has an awesome score, and there's nothing against this. It does pull me out a little bit because Pirates of the Caribbean obviously came out late, a few years later, but it's it sounds so similar in so many places. So
this was early 2000s, huh? I thought it was 90s.
The year 2000.
Oh, okay.
What?
2000. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool.
Yep. Just like Patriot. So the Patriot had 0 awards, 0 Oscars. This one won 5 Oscars and stuff. But I mean that's stuff we can talk after hours.
Yeah, we'll talk about that stuff.
But So about what did you think of Gladiator as you watched it for the first time?
Man, you know how I am about long movies. This was a very long movie. 3 hours and it came out in 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay, Patriot was longer.
It was pretty long credits. I think it was almost 10 minutes of credits, so it's 3-hour film.
Wasn't? Sure. Wasn't the founder an hour 50?
Yeah.
I mean that. Obviously this is longer.
Yeah, this is 3 hours.
I don't know. I didn't feel like this one was that. I didn't feel like what?
I said this was 3 hours, not an hour 50.
No, you said it was 2 hours and 10 minutes.
No, 3 hours and 10 minutes.
No, it wasn't.
So this movie is 3
what
hours.
Movie did you watch? Did you watch the extended cut or something?
Is there
with
no?
So many other movies.
Is there?
This is 2.5. This is 2.5 hours with credits.
What? What the heck did I freaking watch?
What movie did you watch?
Did I watch Gladiator 2?
Probably is going to be 3 hours. It's like...
Is there an extended cut that I freaking watched that I suffered through?
You probably did. Okay.
Let me see.
It's 2
there's
hours
an alternate
and
version.
27 minutes.
Yep, there's an alternate version that is...
Oh my gosh.
3 hours.
That's the one you watched?
I went on to... Because it was on Pluto TV, so I just searched Gladiator and clicked on it, and apparently I clicked on the extended version.
Oh, man. Okay, I didn't even know that existed. So this was not as long as you thought. So pretend that it was shorter.
Let's see. Hold on. The new cut expense. How long did you say the original version was?
It is 2 hours and 27 minutes before credits.
Before credits?
Yeah.
What's with credits?
So 2:35.
That still doesn't make any sense. Because it says it only adds 15 minutes to the extended version. It did have because it had ads, so I wonder if it was counting the ads when it said 3 hours and 10 minutes.
I don't think it usually does that, but maybe.
I mean, it had to have. I mean, that would be the only thing that explains why it was that long. Because it was that long.
So you watched. Okay, well, I'm sorry you had to watch the extended edition. I hope that doesn't ruin your opinion of this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
I really because I really didn't feel like I felt like the Patriot dragged on more than this one. This one I felt like went pretty quickly for me, and I mean it's long, but it's not like too long. I didn't think. There wasn't a time where I was like, "Oh, when's this gonna end?" or like, "Man, this is long."
Yeah, I don't know. I also feel like the ads kind of pulled me out of it too, which kind of sucked.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah. Okay, so apart from it being long, it was definitely a good movie. It's not like my kind of movie, but putting that aside as well, it was a good story.
Masculine, manly movies.
Very masculine. Yeah. Very masculine movie. Very there's a line that they said. I'm like that line sums up this movie, and they said it towards the end. So, but to sum up this movie, movie is about strength and honor. That's what this movie is about. And one of the characters said to, wait, did they say it to Russell Crowe? Or did Russell Crowe say it? I don't remember. Either way, someone was telling someone that you need to have strength and honor. And then they went into the battlefield at the end.
Yeah, I think.
I was like, yeah,
I think Russell Crowe. Well, it might have been.
It might have been the.
What's his name? Proximo. A really good character. Like the leader of the Gladiator. Like the guy who owns the slaves.
Yeah.
He owns the Gladiator and so forth.
Right.
I think he
might have said it to Russell Crowe.
Sure.
Or to I think it was to all the men. Yeah, whoever was saying it was said it to all the men. So it might have been Russell Crowe, or it was Proximo. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, Proximo. It was a good movie. One thing I did notice about these older movies, which I think is so interesting compared to a lot of the newer movies, there's so little exposition. Like I feel like there's good exposition, like when they're talking,
very good, memorable lines.
It fits the story. It doesn't feel like they're like coming out. Like I feel like nowadays all these movies have so much exposition that just draws you out of the story, and it's there. You can just tell it's almost like they're breaking the fourth wall, telling you what's happening, and with these older movies, the Patriot, this one, you don't get that at all. And you have to be paying attention. You have to be really focusing on the movie to understand what's going on. You can't just be sitting on your phone listening, because you're going to miss it. Like, if you're not seeing and listening to what's happening with intent, you're not gonna be able to keep track. And I think that just shows how great the writing was back then too. The fact that they weren't doing all these crazy lines of exposition to keep the viewers entertained and
are you not entertained?
Yeah. And keeping them on track with the story. And they didn't have to do that, because they had a story that was going, and you're drawn into it, and you want to know what's going to happen.
For sure.
But yeah.
So generally, you liked it overall. Yeah, I love this movie. There was a couple of things that I noticed that I didn't like a whole lot, that kind of drew me out a little bit. But for the most part, I enjoyed it, and obviously one of my favorites, and it's a good one. Yeah. So just to jump into the plot, we open up on a battle. We're in the 2nd century AD, I'm pretty sure, and so we're I think this is all during the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome. So Rome is for the most part conquered most of the known world, a good chunk of the known world, and I'm trying to see when the Pax Romana officially began, because it was 200 years. So it's from 27 BC to 180 AD. So after the death of Marcus Aurelius is where there was a big shift in Rome. Not gonna get in history. So we open it up, but we open up on a battle, and this battle is being led by our general, who is Maximus Aurelius. The Caesar is, now I'm mixing up the names here.
Caesar is Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Marcus Aurelius is the Caesar. The general is Maximus. What's his full name? Anyways, led by our hero, Maximus Decimus Meridius. We'll call him Maximus, or Russell Crowe. Led by a hero, and they're fighting. So there's peace in Rome, but they are having to deal with a lot of these barbarian tribes that are trying to take over the Rome, or trying to take over certain lands, and so they're fighting them, and we just see from the beginning they don't stand a chance. Russell Crowe or Maximus even makes a comment about how why, or I think it was him, like why do they even try to fight when they know they're going to lose, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. But they're so they're fighting this battle, and they pose pretty much no threat to the Roman army, and led by Maximus, he leads his men to take over and win the battle. They win. It was a bloody battle. It was there was some hardship, but for the most part, it was victorious. And from the beginning, we just see that Maximus is a leader. He's a general who leads his men, and he leads his men well. And he also inspires his men and encourages men. We also meet, though, Caesar Aurelius, played by Dumbledore.
I noticed that right away. He sounds exactly the same. Like
Dumbledore, the first Dumbledore in the first two movies, who eventually passed away after the second Harry Potter movie.
Yeah,
but he, I'm blanking on his name.
The actor's name or the
we
character?
Meet him. He is. What's up?
Oh, the actor's name, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we already talked about it. Yeah,
Richard Harris.
Marcus, yeah.
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius, played by Richard Harris.
Yep.
He is. We see he's a good Caesar. He's a very wise Caesar. I'm pretty sure like a lot of the lines he quotes are actual lines that Marcus Aurelius in real life quoted, and he's wise, but he also favors our hero Maximus. We see that. We see some interaction between them, and after this battle, we find out that Maximus is ready to go home. This is supposed to be his like last battle, and now he can go home to his wife and son. He has a wife and son, and go back to his family, back to his homeland. We learn that he comes from he's a farmer, so he comes from very low in society, but he's obviously risen up as a good leader to become a general for Marcus Aurelius. But he wants to go home. He's ready to be done. He's ready to be done fighting. They've brought peace to Rome. It's time to rest. But we have this conversation between Aurelius and Maximus, and Caesar Aurelius. He actually wants Maximus to take his place as emperor. He wants him to take the throne, and to take Rome in a different direction. He wants Rome to become a republic. He wants to give Rome back to the people, not run by necessarily, not as like a dictatorship by the Caesars. He wants it to be a republic, and he thinks Maximus is the right man for that. However, we find out that he has a son who is the heir to the throne, Mr. Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix. We have another Joaquin Phoenix movie in this season later on coming up. Yep. But Joaquin Phoenix who plays probably one of the best villains. We have a lot of good villains this season.
Yeah.
One of the best villains in movie history, and who is just a great contrast to our hero, and we'll get into that. But he's the son of Marcus Aurelius. He also has a sister as well who plays a big role in the movie. We'll get into her. The first scene we meet is the two of them, and we see that there's some weird tension between them, and that can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but they were talking about, I can't remember what they're talking about. But anyways, we have a conversation between them, but we find out that of course he's ready to take the throne. Like that's basically the thing. Their dad is dying. He's getting old. He's not going to live much longer. But at the beginning we see our two characters, our villain and our hero. Our hero is off fighting and leading his men. Our villain is sitting in a carriage being drawn by other men and
being pampered.
He shows
up to the field after the battle, and he's like, "Oh,
yes,
did I miss the war?" And
I think he said, "Did I miss the battle?" And
and then he's like, "You missed
his
the whole
dad said,
war."
like, you missed the whole war.
Yeah.
So, good line. But I caught that. I was like, it's great contrast between our hero and villain. It's like this starts us off to see like who these two men are.
For sure.
But Commodus, he is. We find out that he starts to find out that things aren't going the way that he wants them to. He sees that his dad favors Maximus a lot. Aurelius even says to Maximus, I think, just between the two of them, that he wishes that he had a son like Maximus, or that Maximus was his son. Like he'd make a better son or something like that. So obviously, he's not very fond of his son, and Commodus, he is jealous. Like he's hungry for his father's affection, his father's love, and his father's approval, but he's not receiving that, and so there's that jealousy. And then at one point, Aurelius asks Commodus to come to his quarters and to talk with him, and he tells him, Commodus, I can't get his name. I'm gonna say Commodus. I am not gonna give you the throne. I'm not gonna pass the emperorship down to you. I'm gonna give it to Maximus. And at this, he's just broken, and he's just destroyed. Like, how dare you, father? Like I've done so much. And you just see him pleading with his father, and he's crying, he's breaking down, and he's talking about how his father has a list of virtues of what he thinks an emperor should have, and Commodus says that you gave all these virtues, but I don't have any of them. But then he says, like, but these are the virtues that I think an emperor, that I think are good in me, and he said, like, ambition and fierceness and so forth. And then he embraces his father, but then he suffocates his father. So he kills him right then and there. Oh yeah. So Aurelius told Maximus, "Hey, I want you to consider this." So Maximus is going to consider this, and he's contemplating, like, man, I want to go home, but maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is something that I'm called to do. But then news is brought to him that Aurelius has died, and Commodus has now been given the emperorship, the throne of Rome. And so from there, I think we get doesn't Maximus like right then and there he blames Commodus for killing his father. Like
he knew it was him right away.
Yeah.
And that's why later on we get him saying, like, essentially saying that he will only submit to the real emperor, and just calling what's his name a phony.
Yeah, because Commodus asked for Maximus's loyalty. He says, "Kiss my hand."
Yeah,
but he rejects it.
I'm only loyal to the true, true ruler.
True ruler. And so Commodus, he has Maximus arrested and sentenced to be executed. And then we have the classic send the prisoner into the forest to execute him instead of just doing it right then and there.
Yeah.
That bothered me. I hate when movies do that. It's just like they had to find some way for our hero to escape, and that's what you decide to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to.
Well, they had like a graveyard of bones, so like they always always execute people over there.
Yeah, I guess
it's their execution.
I don't know.
Spot.
Maybe they didn't. He didn't want to see the Roman army. He didn't want to have Maximus. Maybe because he has the favor of the men, he didn't want to have him executed in the camp. That could be it.
Mm-hmm.
He says like ride till dawn and then kill him. It's like okay. And then of course, to be expected, he escapes. He gets. They're about to kill him, but then he does some spin moves and beats him up and gets away and escapes. And then we have like a couple scenes where he's trying to get away, but is he injured? Yeah, I think he's injured.
Yeah.
But he's also, he's
which I didn't understand how he got injured. He like the horse like hit him because he ducked to the other side, so I wasn't sure what hit him or what stabbed him or what. But he reached under his plate and he was bleeding. But all that happened was the horse hit him because the guy didn't have his sword on that side. So, I don't know.
Right. So, somehow he gets injured as he's trying to escape. And then we have some scenes of him making his way. He also knows that his family's in danger because he's a prisoner to Rome, or he's an enemy to Rome. And so he's fearful of his family, so he's starting to make his way home. And as he's making his way to his home, we see that it's all been burnt. So the Roman armies have made it there. We have a scene where the Roman soldiers are riding in and they kill his son, and then we get a scene where his son and his wife are hanging, and we find out they're actually crucified. They don't show them being crucified. They show their legs hanging, but they were nailed to crosses, which was a form of Roman execution.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously this is a big moment for our characters. It's just he's lost everything. His home is destroyed, and his son, his only son, and his wife have been murdered and hung because of him. I mean, but because of Commodus. Like he knows he's guilty of killing his father, and he's taken the throne by force, and now he's threatened him. He was going to execute him, and then he killed his family. So this obviously breaks our hero, and he just lies there. He buries them. So he buries them, and then he lies in the dirt. Dirt is like somewhat symbolic in this movie. Before every battle, we see this at the beginning. But for a battle, he reaches down and grabs the dirt from the ground. I think for various reasons, but likely because like it's to remind him of his humble beginnings, where he came from. He's come from nothing and he's risen to greatness, but also that he's from dust he came, from dust he will return. You have a line later where he says we're just shadows and dust, and so various things. I think it's symbolic. It's like it's a humility thing, but we see him as he buries his wife and son, and he's laying there in the dirt, and he's ready to die essentially, and he's wounded and just lying there. He probably doesn't care for what he cared to nurture himself. But then we find that he's some other men are come to his where he's at, and they capture him and take him, and then we see he's captured and enslaved, and he's being taken to Africa, and we meet one of our other characters, Zuba, who's a fellow slave now because he's now being sold into slavery, and he is sold to a man named Proximus. Proximo. Proximus sounds right. That sounds more Roman, but I think it's Proximo. Yeah, right. As we meet Proximo, he's one of my favorite characters in this movie. And he's a slave owner essentially, but he runs he's a slave owner who runs gladiator games. So he buys slaves and trains them up and has them fight in gladiator matches. So fight other men for show, for entertainment. We find out right away this is a form of entertainment. We also find out that Proxima was sold to two queer giraffes. He was really upset about that because they weren't mating.
Yeah,
that's sorry, I'd point that out.
Yeah, that's funny.
He says, "You sold me two queer giraffes." But he's looking for men to fight in this underground gladiator match. So he buys a handful of slaves, including Maximus. And as he's kind of like preparing them, Maximus is supposed to like show that he can fight, but he just stands there while one of the other gladiator fighters, who's bigger than him, is kind of hitting him and beating him up, but he's just standing there, not just taking it. We see clearly during this time that he's a broken man. We actually don't get any line of dialogue, kind of going back to what you're saying, like during this whole like 10-15 minutes, Russell Crowe, Maximus, he doesn't say anything. And but we see that he's very broken, and he's lost everything. So he's taken to his first gladiator match, and and of course, as he did before, he picks at the beginning of the movie, he picks up dirt and rubs it in his hands, and then he goes to fight. And many of the men are fearful and scared, but he's calm and collected. Like you don't see any fear in him. Yeah. He's ready, and so he's standing up to the moment. He's not giving up, obviously, because we wonder, like, is he just gonna give up? It's like, no, he's gonna fight. So as they go out to fight, Maximus quickly jumps into action and gets himself a sword, no problem, and he's fighting the other gladiators, and along with the other slaves, who he also encouraged to fight, and they were fearful. Well, no, I don't think he did anything at that moment. And yeah, so that's later on. So anyways, they fight, they win, and they walk. The slaves, a few of the slaves, walk away victorious, and then we have a transition to Commodus. He is going through his coronation. So we see a contrast here where Maximus has fallen to nothing. Like he's at his lowest, while Commodus is being raised to his highest. He's becoming the emperor of Rome. We meet the Roman senators who play a role in this film, and we see that they're skeptical to his rise of power. They don't think he is adequate enough to rule as emperor. And then, we get that scene, and then we cut back to, So as Maximus is victorious in the gladiator ring, we see Commodus rise and to be the emperor. And then,
so one thing that when he went into the first gladiator match, I noticed a similarity between this movie and Shawshank Redemption, and I was like, it's very similar character type, where he's lost everything. He's put into this sort of prison, and he's calm and collected, and we're just kind of confused. Like, is he gonna give up? Is he gonna fight? And then he fights, and I thought that was an interesting connection or a similarity. And I actually kind of noticed like a very similar like story that's also is told in Shawshank of the character.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It is similar. Actually, I didn't really even notice that, but you're right. It is. Because this is a redemption story. It's also a revenge story, but it's a well done revenge story, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's not just like he's taking revenge for revenge's sake. Like he's doing it to rid the world of this filth, of this evil.
Yeah.
In Commodus. And it is interesting. Also, you start seeing Commodus's kind of political theory. He's saying that like I want to rule the nation like a father. I want them to be like my children and to trust me like a father. And he just he's just acting like daddy government.
Yeah.
And he's just wanting to rule them and play a role as a leader, as a ruler that is not meant for him as the government. That's not his lane, to be like a father, and it's his form of fatherhood as well, which is tyrannical and wicked.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was interesting. And he wants a dictatorship while his father wants a republic.
Yeah.
And you see the contrast between the two.
And we see later on, like, or I guess it was probably in the beginning too, but that his father he was building this empire to give to the people.
To the people, right.
And that's what he wanted, was to give it to the people. And Commodus just wanted it all for himself. To rule over these people, yeah.
And
he wanted to control the
children
people.
And slaves. Yeah, control them.
Yeah,
exactly. And then we transition back to Maximus, who's becoming well known in the gladiatorial games. We see just different montage of different fights, and he's becoming popular with the people. And then we have the famous scene where he defeats his last opponent, and then he throws a sword up in the air for the onlookers of the games, and then he says, "Are you not entertained? Is this not what you were here for?" Which is interesting because like this is becoming really popular, and this was historically in Rome during this time. It's people are find enjoyment in watching other people kill each other. They're finding enjoyment in death. So in the midst of this time of peace, death is the form of entertainment. And they have the whole massive glorious Colosseum, which should be used for good entertainment, but instead used for killing of others. And so Maximus is just making it clear. It's like, hey, like this is what you guys want. Are you not entertained? This is what you came for. It's like, are you not excited? And he's trying to win the favor of the people, and Proximo talked to him about that. It's like, hey, like if you want to take revenge, because this is his goal now. Like he wants to take revenge. He wants to rise up to meet Commodus, and he knows that the only way that he can get there is through this route. Like he's a slave now. He doesn't have freedom. So if he wants his freedom, he has to fight. And if he wants to do so, he can make his way to Commodus and then face him face to face in order to kill him.
So what's the guy that was kind of like in charge of the
Proximo,
the slaves. Proximo. Right? Yeah. So he was having that conversation with him, and that's when we learned that Proximo was also a gladiator, and that he essentially did that. Like he won the favor of the crowd, and then he got to meet the ruler, and then he became free because of that. Right. And then Maximus is like, "Wait, you met him, or you knew him?" And he's like, "I met him once, and he freed me." And so then he's like, then Maximus was asking about it, and he's like, if you want to meet him, then you have to win the favor of the people, or you can be. And he's like, the line that he says is, "Win the crowd, and you will win your freedom." Right. Yep. And so that at that point we see that transition in him where he's like, okay, I have a goal now. I know I can do this. Yeah. I have a goal. So this is kind of like the end of the first act for the most part, where this sets us up for the rest of the story. Yeah. I know this is an hour into the film, but but it's somewhat
somewhat pretty much the first act is now concluding. We get to meet one of his other fellow slaves a little more, Juba, who's also a great fighter who longs for freedom. He talks about his wife in his homeland, and he's waiting to go back to her, and he's hopeful that he will. We see that he's hopeful. He's like, I think I can win my freedom, and I will see her again, he says, and he says I'll see her before she dies. And this is contrasted with Maximus, who's lost his family, but he hopes to see them again in the afterlife, which is kind of, we're starting to get that aspect of this movie where he's longing for the afterlife when he could be with his family again.
He's longing for that reunion with them in the afterlife.
Right. So there's hope for eternity. There's hope for something beyond this world. He's moving towards something. Yes, he's not a Christian, but he's also not a pagan, if that makes sense. Like, he is religious, as Ecclesiastes says, like, God has set eternity into the mind of man. Like, man has a sense of eternity, and often men suppress that, but we see that in Maximus, that he's waiting for the end, but he's not doing it in a nihilistic way where he's going to give up and just say, oh, woe is me, woe is life, I'm just gonna eat, drink, be merry, for tomorrow I die. Like, no, he's motivated, and he has a goal in mind, and he's going to set himself towards that goal.
Yeah.
So then we travel to the Great Colosseum next, and
so I think there's something that could be said, because he's not, like, he understands that once he dies, he'll be with them. So he could have just killed himself, but put himself in a situation where he just dies. Like, he's in these gladiator fights, but he's like, I think he, that's where the theme of this movie, strength and honor, like the honor part, like he knows, like, he probably thinks, like, I might not be with them. Like, it's almost like a heaven hell type of thing maybe going on in his head where he's like, if I'm not honorable, like, I might not end up with them in the same place they are when I die. Or it's a sense, like, in this life, like, I have a responsibility to, I have a duty and a responsibility to protect all these people that are in my life, and I cannot die knowing that these people are going to be ruled by a corrupt king, ruler, whatever.
Exactly. And so we then get to the Colosseum, the Great Colosseum. This is kind of the next stage for him as far as the gladiator fights, and he's going to be given an opportunity to fight in the gladiator matches. But we also see that he meets Commodus's nephew, Commodus's sister, whose husband has died, but she has a son, and this son, actually, I'm pretty sure, is the main character of Gladiator 2.
Yeah, he is.
So interesting, which this actually made me a little bit more excited about Gladiator 2 after watching this again, because like, okay, we can follow this character a little more and develop him. Could be good. But anyways, so we meet his nephew, Lucius. And we see that clearly the boy admires Maximus from the beginning. So Maximus is growing fame. He's being known as the Spaniard. He also has kind of been hiding his identity as well. So because a lot of people would know about him, so he's kind of trying to keep that under wraps. But he's known as the Spaniard, and we see also Lucius's, like, kind of father hunger, because he doesn't have a father, and so he admires Maximus and his masculinity, his fatherliness, and his just courage and his bravery, but also the fact that he's a good fighter, which contrasts with Commodus, who's weak and effeminate, and which we can kind of get a little more into that, but there's just such a good contrast between our villain and our hero. But even here, like, clearly Lucius kind of rejects Commodus as that father figure. He has that hunger for another father. Proximo is trying to make a deal with the senators, I believe, or something, to get his gladiators in a match. But it turns out that the match that he's contracted to put them in is pretty much one to the death. Like they're going to be put out there to die for sport in a sense, where there's going to be men on chariots coming in. There's going to be tigers, and it's like these his slaves are going to die. He can't get out of the contract. So they go into the Coliseum. But here we see Maximus, just another moment where he steps up as a leader and he inspires the other men.
So I don't think this is when there's the tigers, because isn't it later on when there's the tigers, and that was like a plot that what's his name?
Maybe.
What's the villain's name?
Commodus,
because it was
Commodus.
Yeah, because he plotted to have the tigers in there, so that he would die.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think the tigers were in this fight.
Sure. Okay, you're right. Yeah. So, anyways, no tigers, but we see him step up as a leader in this moment, where he could easily cower like the other men, but he's gonna stand up and say, not only he's gonna be brave himself, but he's gonna encourage his other men to be brave. Say, hey, if we band together, if we work together, we can make it out of this. And so they're supposed to die. This is supposed to be a match to the death. They're not supposed to walk away. But he beats the odds and defeats the men who are, he's supposed to lose to. And this is the first time really where we see him struggle in a fight. But he struggles because he's up against the odds. And then I love the scene where he takes one of the horses and rides it after defeating the soldiers, and he lifts his sword in the air in victory. He's just showing that he's not only been victorious. He stood up in the moment. He wasn't a coward, but also he led his fellow men to fight as well. And then we have a interaction with Commodus, where he's asking, I think, one of the senators. Where he's like, I don't think that's how, because they're like reenacting a battle. It said the Battle of Carthage, where the barbarians come in and the barbarians are supposed to lose, and the slaves were the barbarians. And he's like, I don't remember the barbarians winning and everything. But he's like, but I kind of liked it. It's good. I want to meet this Spaniard that you guys talk about, because he's been wearing a mask and everything, so he's not revealed himself.
Yep.
So the emperor who Maximus wants to take revenge on comes to meet him, and he is very quickly tempted to kill him. So he reaches down in the ground to pick up a spearhead, and as Commodus is walking over, Lucius runs up as well, and that's when Maximus decides, no, I'm not going to kill him. That wouldn't be that would not be the right thing to do in front of this boy. And so he decides not to kill him in that moment. And of course, Maximus, having broken the rules, should be put to death. And Commodus is kind of left with a choice to execute him or not. And he wants to, but the crowd is shouting. Oh yeah, because he takes off.
Yeah,
right.
He
Because
forces
he takes off his
him
mask
to reveal who he is.
Right. He reveals himself, and he's like, I am Maximus. The general for the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, and so forth.
Yeah, that's that point it's talking
about. And basically, he defies
a fatherless,
a father to a dead son, and a husband to a dead wife, something like that.
Yeah.
And he basically is like mocking Commodus, and he is defying his right to the throne, or Commodus is somewhat right to the throne. He's threatening his rulership and his station. I'm trying to think of the word. He's threatening him as emperor, essentially. And so he's given kind of a choice to execute Maximus for committing treason. But the crowd starts shouting and chanting, "Live, live, live, live!" Like they love Maximus. They want Maximus. They don't want to see him be killed. And so Commodus, out of kind of probably fear for the crowd, or wanting to please the crowd, or not wanting to anger them, he gives his thumbs up and lets him live. So he votes in favor of Maximus.
I know. I was thinking I need to do my thumbs up reviews the same way he does.
Yes. We should. We also should need to do that for all our movies.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll try to remember to do that at the end.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
And then, yeah, a couple more scenes. Commodus is very furious, of course, because it turns out that Maximus did not die, and I didn't really get this because he says that my men lied to me, when I'm pretty sure Maximus killed all his men, so they would have not come back.
Yeah, which he should have known.
I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense that he didn't know that he was alive.
Yeah.
He wasn't alive.
Right.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Saying it as it is. Then the sister, she goes to Maximus without the knowledge of her brother. And she acknowledges that she lives in fear of her brother, but also for her son, because she knows that he can kill her son, because her son is the next heir to the throne, and he could kill his son at any moment. And once Commodus gets an heir, or finds an heir, or finds a wife, then he would have no use for his nephew. But also, like I said, there was some tension. There's sexual tension between the two of them, which is weird, but accurate. weird. No. Watch Movie Chronicles.
Yeah.
Sorry. He has like an incestuous love for his sister, essentially, which was common among a lot of the emperors, I'm pretty sure, and I think specifically the historical Commodus as well. But he loves his sister in a sexual way. And so he wants, and we find out later, he wants her to be his wife and wants her to give him a son, and so forth. But she tells Maximus that, hey, like, you're the first one to ever stand up to him, and you've scared him, but he also made him mad. So she's kind of wanting to she's ready to, like, I'm fearful of him. I want to plot against him, and I want to use you. She says that there's someone that I know that wants to partner with you, or wants to work with you to kill him. And I want you to lead and he wants you to lead the people, but he refuses to help her. And yeah, I think he decides, like, hey, no, I'm not going to do that. And then we move on from that. We have a scene with Juba. He says to Maximus that Maximus now has a great name, and if Commodus wants him dead, that he must kill his name first. So, like, he basically saying that if he's going to kill you, he's going to have to ruin your name first, because otherwise you'll just die as a martyr, and that would be just as bad for him, because he's won the crowds, he's won the people. So if he wants you dead, he's got to kill your name first. I thought that was a good line. We then get another Gladiator match, and once again, he's faced with an impossible opponent.
So this is when I always forget the villain's name. What's his name again?
Commodus.
The Emperor, the toxic Emperor.
Joaquin.
Yeah. He plots a way to have him killed in battle, and he has him fight an opponent that has never, obviously never been defeated, otherwise he'd be dead, but he wins every single battle. He's never been defeated. He's known as just like this ruthless fighter. And so not only does he have to fight him, but he also has to fight two tigers in the match.
And so he beats the odds, defeats this man, and then he's given a choice to kill him. The Gladiator is never lost. But he chooses, because he gets him on the ground, he chooses not to, and then I think the crowd.
So before he chooses, so he was going to, but then he looks to the Emperor to see if he's allowed to kill him or not.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think it must not have been a fight to the death or something.
Oh, okay. Well, because this is the moment where he's referred to as Maximus the Merciful.
Right. Well, okay, so let me finish. So he was going to kill him, or he wanted to kill him, and he put the axe to his head, look to Maximus. No, I mean, look to the Emperor, and he does his thumb. He thumbs down, kill him, and that's when he raises his axe and then doesn't kill him, and then the crowd cheers, and they start calling him Maximus the Merciful.
Right.
So I think he purposely wanted it to be the Emperor wants him dead, and then so Maximus was doing that on purpose to make the Emperor look bad while making himself look merciful.
Right. Okay. So he's, refers to himself as Maximus, or he's now being referred to as Maximus the Merciful. And then Joaquin comes down to talk with him and so forth. I can't remember exactly if he threatens him, or he's still not going to kill him. He's not going to kill Maximus because he's fearful of the people. But Maximus knows that he's made his enemy, and at any moment, he could, someone can slip him poison or something, he can die.
Yeah.
So that's when he decides that he's gonna help the sister. I can't remember her name, but he's gonna help her. There's also some romance between them. They tease it early on, which they kind of they have to. It's a Hollywood movie. I felt like it was a little forced, but
yeah. I mean, his wife just died.
Yeah, I know.
They had that connection because they both had
they had
8-year-old sons.
Well, yeah, they also had a past as well.
Oh,
they acknowledged. So,
okay. I must have missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was early on. But anyways,
Lucilla, it must be Lucia.
Lucilla,
I think.
Lucilla. Okay.
Something like that.
She so they decide, okay, I will do this, and but Maximus is also, or Commodus is also, worried about what may happen, and he's now kind of plotting his own takeover. He wants to kill all the senators, so he starts his plot to kill the senator, or to arrest them, but also I think he wants to have them executed, and because they're kind of opposing him. One of the senators actually goes to Maximus, and he's going to help him. One of the senators is also the guy that Lucille, whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. She is the one that he's working with in order to plot against Commodus, and so they kind of have their plot. But Commodus is also still threatening. Now he's threatening her son as well. So it's things are tension is rising. He actually kind of Commodus pretty much seduces her in a very disgusting way. But anyways, and directly after that, she goes to Maximus and they kiss and embrace, and you have your Hollywood love scene, and then things just start picking up. Trying to remember what happened. There's this scene where they all are. Oh yeah. So where Maximus is staying, where Proxima is staying, and Juba and all the other gladiators, they're being attacked. So Commodus sends a bunch of men to arrest them and to pretty much to kill them, I think. And so they're all under attack, and so their plot is falling apart because they're find a way to go after Commodus. But everything's falling apart, and then Maximus gets captured and gets arrested, and now we're in the third act now. I'm trying to remember where Dark Night of the Soul or All Is Lost was. It was probably when he was arrested.
It was when
there was one moment I'm trying to remember.
Maximus had a plan for, I think it was Maximus had a plan, his final plan to kill the Emperor in the end. And so the Emperor found out about his plan and went in and because it was when the Emperor was talking to his sister, telling the story of to his nephew. He was telling the story to his nephew, and his sister was in the room. about how the people were plotting against the emperor, and the emperor was very much not happy with it, and essentially saying what the consequences were for going against the emperor, and that they were killed and all these things. And so he had just found out about the plan, and then right after that story that he told them, which was just, I mean, obviously what his story, but right after that he goes and stops the plan. Which, do you remember what was his plan again? Do you remember?
I'm blanking on their plan.
Yeah.
I forgot to write that down. That was like one of the
I don't
things
remember
that I was
what
going
it
to
was.
write down.
And
but anyways, that was their plot. They were plotting to overthrow overthrow him
with the senator. Like, he was a big part of it. And
yeah. So either way, this is also when Proximo died. So and we get that scene where he says, I think it was either Maximus or Proximo said to each other, what they said to one another, like, we are but shadows and dust. So kind of going back to that, we are but men, we are but mortals. We live and die. We pass away like a shadow. And then as Proximo is about to be executed, be killed in his room, during that night when everything was falling apart, he is killed then right then, and then he quotes that line, "We are but shadows and dust." We also have that scene where Commodus is talking to his sister and asking her, like, "Am I not merciful?" Like, he it's that desire to, like, I've given you so much, I've done all this, am I not merciful to my people, and so forth. And it just reminds me of the idea that, like, the mercy of the wicked is actually cruel. Like, the wicked enslave you and then give you breadcrumbs and then ask, like, am I not merciful? Am I not being merciful to you?
Yeah, that was such an intense scene when he was, like, yelling, like, when he finally starts, like, he was, like, saying it, like, am I not merciful? Am I not merciful? And then he yells it, and it's like, yeah, and that's an intense scene.
That was well acted as well by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure.
So everything's fallen apart. Their plans failed, and now Commodus wants to fight Maximus in the Gladiator ring. One last fight to the death. But of course, because he is a coward, the coward that he is, he stabs Maximus in his side right before he's about to go up. Also, you hear the people chanting his name, Maximus's name as well, which was interesting, as he's being raised up to fight and to be killed by the emperor.
Yeah.
So he stabs him, so wounds him, which is our hero moment. We talked a lot about this with our superhero movies, but there's always a heel crushing moment, going back to Genesis 3:15, where the head of the serpent will the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent, but his heel will be bruised first. He's going to be wounded. He's going to be crucified. He's going to die, but be resurrected. Here, Maximus is literally stabbed, wounded before his fight. So his heel is crushed in a sense, but and the serpent strikes him on that heel. The serpent's the one that strikes. Commodus is the serpent, and then but as we'll see, Maximus will strike the head of the serpent. Strike his head. So there's this, you had that clear moment, or clear contrast there, clear picture for us as we're watching our hero, and he rises up, and we have this great fight between our two our protagonist and our antagonist. Maximus, of course, holds his own, and Commodus, he holds his own. We're also shown early on in the movie that he's actually a good fighter. He could fight. He doesn't do it often, but he can. But he's also pretty fearful. So they're fighting in the ring, and you have this great moment where Commodus loses his sword, and he's asking his men to give me a sword, give it to me, and and he's asking one of them, give me one of your swords. And like the general is like, don't do it. Sheath your swords, keep him. And that was really interesting. Like that just showed that he's even lost the favor of his men. Maximus, he wins the favor of men. Commodus loses the favor of men.
Yeah.
He's not a good leader. He's a failed leader, a failed patriarch, and it just shows that his men are not even willing to help him. And so as they fight, Maximus,
well, Maximus drops his sword because,
right,
again, strength and honor in this whole movie. Like he's like the most honorable man. He drops his sword. He's not going to just stab him. He wants a fair fight. And greatest part, like he drops his sword, then he pulls out a little knife. Like he has no honor at all. No. And then we see Maximus's strength, and it's great.
Right. And Commodus's weakness.
Yeah.
As a weak man, a fragile man.
Yeah.
And Maximus is an anti-fragile man that is not being broken. And it was one thing, like, I was thinking through this movie, it's like, I don't think Maximus has very many flaws. He's faced up against the ropes, everything's against him, and he's having to overcome a lot. So he has all that he needs to overcome. He's not a flawless man. He has struggles, he has hardships and whatnot, but I don't know if you caught anything, but I don't think there's really any like moral failing in him, which I think was fine. I think it was handled for the most part well as a revenge story, because typically I think revenge stories you don't have that, and but also he's obviously not.
I think there was a transition, and that's kind of in his character development. Is at first it was just pure hateful revenge,
right?
And it transitioned into I need to save these people from this wicked ruler. And
yes, you're right.
And
good
so
one.
there wasn't like a moment that it changed, but it gradually changed over the movie, and I thought that was really great.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Because he was in it just for revenge, but then towards the end he's in it for the people.
Yeah.
He's doing what's right for the people, because he's even willing to take. Oh yeah, because I think that was the plot. Like they were going to overthrow Commodus, and then Maximus was going to be given the emperorship, like the throne, to become the emperor, and then and he promises that I will give Rome to the people.
Yeah,
we will become a republic. Yeah. So you have that transition where he's like, I'm going to do this for the right reasons. So that was good. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
And then even here, it's like he's willing to fight honorably. It's not just cold-blooded revenge. Like he's willing to beat him in a fair fight, even if his enemy is not going to be fair. But they fight, and he's struggling. He's wounded, very wounded, but he's able to defeat Commodus and kill him once and for all. Which I thought it was that whole fight was very well handled.
Yeah.
And you see just the arrogance of Commodus, and he's just kind of all over the place, and trying to beat him and defeat him. He has his knife, and then he gets stabbed with his own knife as Maximus kills him. And I thought that was all well handled. And then we also have Maximus as he's dying, which I like. I thought it was fine. Like he was stabbed probably like in the lung. Like he was, he was clearly like, not at his full strength in this fight. And, he succumbed to his injuries. But he also was at peace.
Yeah.
He's brought peace to his people. He's been courageous. And we get glimpses of his wife and son in the afterlife. He gets to be with them now, and so he succumbs to his injuries, and he lays down in the dust, in the dirt, and dies. And passes on. Yeah,
so I think this is great, because I think this is when he truly won the people of Rome. Like he won them, and then
won their hearts.
He won his freedom. Like he was at at peace. He got his freedom. So it wasn't just the people of the Colosseum. It was all of Rome, all the soldiers,
Right.
all the men and
He
the
sacrificed
people.
himself for that.
Yeah. And so he won them. So it went beyond that line of win the crowd and you'll win your freedom. It was he won all of Rome, and then he won his true freedom where he's at peace. He falls into death and sees his wife and kid, and then ends up ends up in paradise.
Right. His villain has lost the heart of his people, and Maximus has won the hearts of his people.
Yeah.
Good leaders win the hearts of people. And we see that clearly in Maximus, in the way that he leads and what he does for them. He sacrifices for them. He puts others first. But he's also courageous. He's a man of honor. While, Commodus is a man of, he doesn't have honor. And, as a Maximus, he dies, and it's interesting. Maximus dies honorably, and Commodus dies with dishonor. He's lost his people. He's lost his men. He was a poor leader, and he dies dishonorably. While Maximus dies an honorable death, and it's what before they go into the Colosseum, Maximus says to him, "Your time of honoring yourself will soon come to an end." He's giving self-honor to himself, Commodus. He's honoring himself, saying, I am this great king. I am this great emperor. And he's even saying throughout the film, I want to be the greatest emperor of all time. I want to be their father. I want them to bow to me and worship me. He wants to be a god. And Commodus says, your time of honoring yourself will soon come to an end because we are just shadows and dust. You are mortal. You are going to die like a man. You're going to die like me. You're going to die like your father. From dust you came, from dust you shall go. And it's just interesting, like even thinking of Psalm 2, that the nations rage against the Lord and his anointed. They mock and scheme, but even kings come to have to kiss the Son. They have to bow before him, because they're all but men, but he is the Lord. And so you just see that with Maximus telling Commodus, like, your time of honoring yourself, it's going to end. Like you can raise yourself up, you can puff yourself up all you want, but it will come to nothing. And that's true. So there's a couple things. This movie is very anti-nihilistic. Maximus, he fights for glory and purpose. He looks forward to eternity. He leads others to be courageous and to fight for a cause. He's a man of honor. He says what we do with our lives will echo into eternity. So like what you do in life matters. He's a man of morality, and he does what's right. And what's good for others. Oh, and he fights for his family.
There's an interesting conversation he had with Commodus's dad, where Commodus's dad was asking Maximus, like, what are the people gonna say about me? Like, are they gonna say I was a great emperor or a great Caesar, or will they think I was what do you call a overpowering?
Like a tyrant?
Yeah. Or are they going to call me a tyrant? He listed a few things,
right?
But he was very self-aware and wondering, like, have I done good for these people? And it was just an interesting conversation he had. But it was a reflection of more than just him and his lifetime, and it's the people that he cares about, and I think that was really something that passed on to Maximus really well.
Yeah, and one thing we see clearly is, like, and this is a lesson to learn. Like, we can't choose our lot in life. Maximus couldn't choose what he went through. Life happened to him. Things happened to him. He lost his family. He lost everything. He was sold into slavery. We compare this with the story of Joseph. Like, Joseph in the Bible, like, there's no flawless men in the Bible except for Jesus, but Joseph's pretty close to flawless. Like, they don't show very many flaws in him, except for maybe some arrogance with the dreams, but I don't think that's even what Scripture's saying. But he's a type of Jesus, And so Maximus also, like, he doesn't have a whole lot of flaws. Of course, we talked about, how he's desire for revenge, but he overcomes that and decides that he wants to do what's right for the people. But also makes sure that he rids the world of this serpent, of this snake, of this evil villain, and which he does. But we can't choose our lot in life. But the question is, are we going to rise to the occasion? Mm-hmm. Maximus rose to the occasion. He took responsibility for his station in life, and he rose to the occasion to do what's right. He shows himself to be a strong man, a principled man, a courageous man, a man of honor, fighting for what's right and slaying the serpent, slaying the dragon, for the good of the people, to win his bride, to win his people. And he does this for family. He loves his family. He loves his wife and his son. Even though he's lost them, he has a love for them. He's driven by that love for them, while Commodus is driven for love for himself. Mm-hmm. He's even willing to have an incestuous relationship with his sister, and to seduce her, and to use her for his own gain, so that he can have a son through her. It's all selfish. It's all focused on him. And he even kills his father. Like, he has no love for his family. It's all for him, compared with Maximus, who does love his family and lays down his life for them, lays down his life for his people. He is a good man, a good leader, and one worth following. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's fun. Of course I liked it. Obviously.
Yeah.
So Tobiah, what do you give this? Do you give this thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Well,
Mr.
definitely
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Movie reviews.
Thumbs down is when it's below 5.
Okay.
So that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah. Do you have anything else though? Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No. We'll talk a little bit about some interesting details in our Patreon. So if you want to hear about
also,
that,
this is directed by Ridley Scott, which he's not done a lot of great movies as of recently, but he definitely win here, and he's a great director, And anyways, I'm not gonna get that. Because it's interesting, he came up on my Twitter timeline because he was doing interviews for Alien Romulus because he's a producer on that.
Oh yeah.
It was just funny, like, seeing him come up. It's like, oh yeah, and he's like talking about all his movies and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Good job.
But we'll talk about some other details in our Patreon. We talk about where it scores on IMDb compared to our rating and stuff like that.
Yep.
And we usually have a pretty fun time there and just talk about it, and then eventually we transition into a mini review. So it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Of a different movie.
Also,
yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to jump into our rating?
Yeah.
All right, but before I do want to make a correction from last week.
Mm-hmm.
After thinking about it and after watching this movie, I do think I gave The Founder too low of a score. You gave it a 9.6, right?
Did I? I think so.
Yeah, I gave it a 9.0. I'm gonna bump that up to a 9.3 if I'm allowed to do that. Like, I think it's like, to be more fair, I'd say 9.5 would be a fair score
for this one.
For Founder.
Oh, okay.
No, not for this one.
Oh, okay. I see. So you want to?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can we change it?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you.
So
that
Shawshank is also 9.5. So should we just leave them both at 9.5?
Let's do it.
Cool.
Let's do it. Anyways, I wanted to make that correction.
Yeah.
Because that movie, like, had very few flaws. I did have my reasons, because, like, I want a more hopeful story and more good example. But it was a good cautionary tale. It was a good movie. It was like almost flawless. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
for sure.
This movie, I have pointed out there are some issues with it, things that stand out with the plot that I have issues with, and because of that, I'm going to give it an 8.8, which is obviously still high for me, but I think 8.8 is probably where I'm at with that one.
Huh. That's actually a lot lower than I thought you were going to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking around 9. I was thinking the same as what I gave for Patriot.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I like this movie more than Patriot, though.
Really? I don't know, man. I need to think more about my scores. What did I give Patriot?
We both gave it a 9. We agreed on that
9.
one. Yeah.
Right. It was a 9. Okay. I do think I do like the Patriot better. I do have and I have less problems with the Patriot.
Yeah.
I don't have that many problems with this one, but there's just a few plot points, things that are a little too convenient for me, a little frustrating. But I also had that a little bit with Patriot too.
Well, I think we're gonna have probably 8.9 for this one.
I'd say Patriot moved me more. It was more inspiring. It was It was just there was more that just got me fired up and excited. Not saying that I didn't get that with this one, but definitely more with Patriot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with 8.8. I gave it Patriot a 9, so this is 8.8. This is below Patriot. Obviously, it is. It's my third favorite movie. So doing that.
Yeah, thinking back to Patriot, I guess Patriot would be probably higher. So maybe I'll change mine to 8.9 because
maybe I would say it's really close. Like
these two, so close. Yeah.
Gladiator and Patriot are very close.
Yeah,
they also came out in the same year.
So you want to just do 8.9 on this one?
I think that'd be good.
All right, so it's tied with Pig.
Nice.
So we have 2 movies tied now.
Really. Yeah, we're gonna be really tight in this season.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Well, let's close this out. Do you want to close this out?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this one. It was another one of our long ones, but that's probably gonna be all season, so it's actually probably not long. It's just regular length now.
Sure.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hear some more, sign up for Patreon, and yeah, we have a suggested movie for our mini reviews, but we'll save that for next week because I haven't been able to watch it or even tell you about it. You're just now finding out about this, Trent. But
I'm just fine.
But yeah, if you want to sign up there, you can always suggest movies for us to do for mini reviews, and we enjoy doing that. We typically otherwise will do new movies that are in theaters or recently came out.
I'm going to see Alien Romulus probably Monday.
Oh, nice.
So I can review that next week.
Sweet.
Or this week or something. We can figure that out.
Yeah. Sweet.
Whenever this comes out.
Yeah. So yeah, we thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful to you as you continue to watch movies and be mindful of the movies you are watching, and always keep in mind to watch good movies, not bad movies, and to know when a movie is good, when a movie is bad. And if you're looking at our ratings, you'll see that Marvel movies are not that great. And
yes, which we have learned ourselves.
So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening, and remember to glorify God and watch good movies. We're out.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.